So this is Baruch here at the lift position at the Tikkun elevator Kollel. And thank you for joining me. I'm doing the best I can to try to understand the words of this tremendous Rabbi Nachman of BRESLEV. He speaks in very mystical, but not mystical, but also poetic terms. It's almost like the Zohar, and learning that kind of thing is really very what's right saying, poetic. There's a music to it, all different kinds of things, and he plays all the instruments. So we have been talking about this crazy little piece of Gemara, because if you look to learning Gemara, the Gemara is really a book that is really trying to understand what is the truth in the way that we work in the world. In other words, it's halacha. And it's called Dinim. And in the midst of this treatise, that's the right word, of the Masechta Baba Basra, dealing really with different aspects of land and purchasing and so on and so forth, drops in this story. Let's read it so we can get back to where we were. The story is Rabbah Bar Bar Chana recounted one time. Now this person, Rabbah Bar Bar Chana, is, I said it previously, a spirit. Comes into the Gemara. One time we were traveling on a sfina, which is a ship. We saw this kabra, it was a very large fish, in whose nostrils was sitting a mud eater, which is, he said, is a type of worm that's obviously boring into this fish. The kabra died, and the water tossed it about and cast it ashore. At that point, it destroyed 60 cities. 60 cities then ate from it, from the leftovers. 60 cities, after a while, it said that when it's fresh, right? 60 cities salted its flesh, and for one eyeball, they filled 300 kegs with oil. And he writes the word maya, which is a word in Hebrew, and he works the word a little bit. It's ma plus an aleph. So ma means what? Adding an aleph in, which is the beginning of everything. So he heads with oil. When we returned after 12 months, this is where we're at now in this story, after 12 months' time, we saw them sawing planks from its bones with which to rebuild those cities. So that's a little drop in to this Gemara, this Talmud, a piece of Talmud called Baba Basra. So just dropped in there. So let's come over here and try to see if we can understand what they said, what they're saying, and try to learn more deeply. Now, maybe I need to move this back a little. I don't know exactly how I'm going to do the camera. When we returned after 12 months' time, we saw them sawing planks from its bones in which to rebuild those cities. The cities were destroyed by the fish, and then fed 60 cities. Behind holiness being the 12 tribes through whom Malchus is rectified, is impurity. He sold holiness as 12 of its impurity. Let me see if we can get some help here on number 187. 187 is going to be way over here. So he says 12 tribes. Malchus is rectified. Here, Rabbi Nachman begins his explanation of the final part of what Rabbah Bar Bar Chana's story was. So he says the Zohar, and here's the site reference in the Zohar, teaches like this: Malchus is restored by means of 12 rectifications. 12 different formations of the 12 of the Sfirot from Chesed through Yesod. Now, let's just look at this again, because I'm not familiar with it, and it sounds like very interesting to me. There are 12 rectifications. Rectification is another word for tikkun. So we understand the number 12. A lot of different places, and God willing that we'll get back to this great astrologer, Yaakov Cronenberg, and we'll get back to the permutations of the name Yud-Kei Vav-Kei, how that works in the number 12. You have 12 tribes, 12 flags, different orientations based on the number 12. So there are 12 tikkunim. So he says this, it translates to this, 12 different formations of the Sfirot from Chesed through Yesod. Now, Chesed through Yesod are 6. So perhaps he means they're male and female. He's not explaining over here what the 12 are. How we got to them so far. These 12 rectifications, tikkunim, are personified by the 12 sons of the patriarch Yaakov, the 12 tribes. There are many different paths, I guess that's what I'm hearing, of the tikkun, each one corresponding to a different tribe. So there are 12 paths here. Each one was a great tzaddik and a paragon of purity and holiness, one to follow. Now he said this phrase, behind holiness is impurity. He says, whoever is within the realm of holiness is said to be included in the 12 tribes. Whoever leaves this realm is behind holiness. That's the word behind holiness. We'll look at it in the Likutei Maharan in a minute. Outside of it and within the realm of impurity. Again, he says, whoever is within the 12 of holiness, which is the 12 tribes. Again, 12 different paths to holiness, tikkunim. All of them are paths to bring the shefa of God into our world. Whoever leaves this realm is behind holiness. It's called behind holiness if you're no longer in the world of purity, outside of it and within the realm of impurity. Now that needs explanation, but maybe we'll get it. The phrase in the Likutei Maharan said, when we returned after 12 months, we saw them sawing planks from its bones with which to build those cities. Behind holiness. Now behind holiness, that is holiness being the 12 tribes, through whom Malchus is rectified. So he says, it's an interrupt between these two lines here. And he says behind holiness, that's that concept that he explained over here, is impurity. So if you're not in the realm of the 12 tribes, what are the 12 tribes doing? They're all trying to rectify the light of God and bring it down into our world. Now, he said there are people who move outside the realm of holiness. This is what the Tana is a name of a writer who wrote in the Mishnah, recounted. He returned to inquire about those who are after 12 months' time, those who are behind the 12 tribes of holiness. Back to this again. They move outside the Jewish community as a result of their evil deeds. There are so many different places where you could see this in the Jewish world, and many people led astray. At the end of reality, at the end of all, is the phrase that I was told to me by a man named Kenny Spetner many years ago. He said the Jewish people live like a rock that you throw into the pond, and then these ripples come out. A little splash and ripple. He says that rock is the Torah. As long as the Jewish people are close to that rock, we get tremendous amount of light. But people are always looking to get away from it, because it's a moral code. They move outside the Jewish community as a result of their evil deeds. Let's look at number 190. This has so much chock full here. He says, after 12 months' time, each month of the Jewish calendar corresponds to one of the 12 tribes. Okay, we can go through this again. They say, where are we now? We're in Tishrei. I'm not really sure right now which tribe goes with Tishrei. Thus, the rectification of Malchus, of holiness, takes place, so to speak, within 12 months' time. Because each month, just like the light of Hashem shines differently in every month, just like the light of our sun shines differently every month, each one of those 12 months is a different kind of rectification. In other words, our relationship to God, let's say God is constant, but we are not. We're constantly changing. So from our different positions and the world's different positions, that's what he says. After 12 months, that means, therefore, alludes to being behind holiness, not part of the cycle of trying to connect to God every 12 months, during every month of the 12 months. Behind that is impurity. Now, he says he returned to inquire. I think we had this up there. Yeah. So he said, return to inquire their evil deeds. Let's say Rabbah Bar Bar Chana is returning and inquiring about those behind, those that are outside, those that are behind the 12 tribes. Alludes to the way the true tzaddikim are always looking for ways to help all Jews, even those outside the fold of holiness. The Mehanachal adds this idea. This further explains the verse Rabbi Nachman quoted earlier. There was a king in Yeshurun. Now, what does Yeshurun mean? When the 12 tribes of Israel were together. When there was together. When was there a melech in Yeshurun? A melech is a king. When would that happen? And another way of saying, when is Malchus rectified within its source? Wow, big idea there. What does that mean? When the tribes of Israel were together, when the 12 tribes that complete the Malchus are united and all together, knowing this, the tzaddikim seek to elevate Malchus by bringing those behind holiness back within its realm. So this is what we all need to be doing. So he says there was one more there. That was it. Okay, so that's going to be the shir. This is Baruch Fleischman here at the Tikkun Elevator Kollel, analyzing tremendous work in English. Likutei Maharan.